welcome to my April update for Pan That Face palette. This one was kind of a surprise because it was like all month everything kind of like looked the same, looked the same, looked the same, and then like the last week of the month something just changed and it was like, that is some dang good visual progress. So before I share with you what had happened, let's kind of go over what the palette looked like last month. So as you can see, not much was really kind of going on last month. There is some brush strokes in Rose Spritz, but it doesn't really show up in the picture. Rose Quartz doesn't really look like, well, it looks like it's been touched, but it doesn't look anything special. Same with Pamplemousse. We were able to hit pan in Champagne Pop previously, so that's there. And then Prosecco Pop, again, you can kind of see some brush strokes, but nothing really looks special. Before we get into the palette, we're going to go over some weights and usages. So I did use this palette 28 times last month, which is pretty dang good. That matches up with my Pan That palette, which makes sense because I dip into this palette every time I put on makeup. In January, this palette was 220.8 grams when we brought it into the project. In March, it was 219.3, and in April, it was 217.9, which means this update, I was able to use 1.4 gram of product, which is pretty crazy in my mind. I feel like I should have used more eyeshadow grams than face grams, but it is what it is. And overall, I have so far used 2.9 gram of product. So I picked the most shiny palette to work on this year, so I am sorry about that. So I'll try not to blind you, but this is what my palette looks like now. Now obviously there's something big we're gonna go over, but to start on the top with the shimmery blush, that is Rose Spritz, and you can definitely kind of see the brush strokes on the top there. With Vanilla Quartz, which is in the middle, there's some brush strokes now kind of like in the middle of the pan. I feel like Pamplemousse just, it's doing its thing. It doesn't look any different. And like we said with Champagne Pop, there was a previous pan there before. And the big thing that just kind of happened, I hit pan in Prosecco Pop. Like, how? So I'm going to throw up a picture of the palette right now so that way I stop blinding you with the ring light and the reflective packaging. So I don't know what kind of happened with Prosecco Pop, so I'll let you know kind of like how the progress really went. I've been using it this past month with my Becca Mermaid eyeshadow that I was panning, and I would go in with some Prosecco Pop, then I would go in with the mermaid eyeshadow and I would apply it that way. And it felt like the blue in that eyeshadow kind of helped tone down the gold, so it worked a heck lot better with my skin. So I'll admit I've been focusing on Prosecco Pop, but I've been using it, I could see brush strokes in the pan, and then one day there was just this tiny little fleck that looked like a piece of silver glitter, and the first instinct in my mind was, oh, I got glitter in my palette, and I tried to like blow it off and it wouldn't blow off. So I was just, okay, I'm not going to fight with this, I'm just going to put the palette away and I'll use it again tomorrow. And I went to go use the palette the next day and I'm like, that's not a piece of glitter. I hit pan because after I'd used it the second time, there was like a heck a lot more pan there. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, I thought it was a piece of glitter. Like, that's how far off from pan I thought we were. It was just like something got in here and it was just reflecting. No, I hit pan. So I hit pan on it and I disregarded it just because I thought it was a piece of glitter until the pan expanded more. So that's my kind of funny story with how Prosecco Pop went. So it doesn't always pick up the best in pictures and with how I angle the product on camera because I am not a panning guru at this point, so I'll just kind of go over what things kind of look like from my angle looking at the palette. First, with Rose Spritz, there's definitely brush strokes at the top of the pan. I have been using a stippling brush like this to try and get just like light coverage with it, and I think like the little stipply pieces have been kind of like breaking off a little bit more of the blush, which is kind of a downer because this isn't like throw the palette out, waste the palette kind of project pan. So I don't like the fact that I'm wasting product, but I'm also trying to get a very light hand with Rose Spritz because I feel like it doesn't work the best for my skin. It's the color I'm struggling with the most. So I'm gonna try and find a different way to use it just because I really don't want to waste the product. I want to use it. So you can definitely see the brush strokes from this brush that I've been using. As for Vanilla Quartz, it's definitely starting to get a little bit of a dip in the middle of it. This one I was using by dipping into Pamplemousse first and then into Vanilla Quartz and then applying it. However, after I hit pan in Prosecco Pop, I have started going into Vanilla Quartz as a base for my highlighter as well. So that one you can start kind of seeing the dip in the middle of the pan. Kind of like I alluded when I was going over my intro here, Pamplemousse is just doing its thing. It looks like nothing. Like there's no brush strokes, no nothing. Like it looks like I haven't even used it. However, I've used it pretty much every single look. So what I like to do is I'll go in with my lovely cookie blusher from Etude. I'll set that as like my main blush, and then I typically go in with Pamplemousse and Vanilla Quartz, kind of just like more on like my temples and the high parts of my cheekbone to get a little bit more color. And then I've also been playing around with Rose Spritz to try and get a little more color there. Like I said, I'm having a hard time with that one, so that one I usually play with after I've done my makeup, whereas Pamplemousse I will actually incorporate as part of my looks on videos. Champagne Pop, we had previously hit pan after 5 uses, which sounds crazy, but it was because a chunk of the pan broke off, and so of course I decided to go for the weak spot and I hit pan after 5 uses. So thank you to the chunk that broke off, you made that easy. And then yeah, Prosecco Pop, you can now see a little bit of pan. It's definitely really flat around it, so I think we could expand pan pretty quickly on that one. As for uses, I was able to use Rose Spritz 9 times for a total of 19 times in this project. Vanilla Quartz I used 25 times for a total of 35 uses in this project. Pamplemousse I used 27, so we're now at 48 uses. Champagne Pop I used 5 times for a total of 17. And Prosecco Pop I used 27 times for a total of 40 uses. And we hit pan at the 37th use. Now you might be like, why do those numbers look a little bit crazy if you only wore makeup 28 times? And just to reiterate, I do pair Vanilla Quartz with Pamplemousse, so that's why those numbers are really high. Sometimes I'll go in and after I play with, or after I film my videos, or after I go out for the day before I wash it off, I'll play with color, so that's why we've got a little bit more highlighter. I just wanted to see like, oh, what happens if I darken this up? What happens if I layer these colors? And that's also the same with Rose Spritz. I'll go in and I'll play with Rose Spritz after the fact to try and make it work. It usually doesn't. However, I did pick probably the worst month to play with it. A month of green eyeshadow and a very potent pink blush probably wasn't the best time. So I'll probably play around with it a little bit more this month and see if I can get it to work. As for goals, I'm not really sure what I want to do quite yet. Like obviously for the blush, I'm still gonna stick with Pamplemousse and Vanilla Quartz put together. However, for the highlighters, I don't know if I want to focus on Vanilla Quartz and try to get a pan on it, if I want to try and expand the pan in Prosecco Pop. I did pull an eyeshadow into my Ancient Mythos project pan called Glow, which is this one here, and this is kind of my replacement for the Becca mermaid eyeshadow that I was panning. And I can get the same effect with this one, however it does take a little bit more work than the Becca one did, but at least I found a way that Prosecco Pop is still working for me. So not really sure what I should do for highlighters this month, whether I should expand the pan or focus on a new pan, so leave me your thoughts down below. But yeah, that is my update for Pan That Face palette. It was quite a surprising one for me, so it's probably a surprising one for you. Thank you for sticking along with me on this journey. I didn't think we were going to have pan this month. I don't think we're going to have pans next month because we're definitely down to blushes and a picky highlighter, so I feel like it's going to be a while. However, at this point, anything can happen, so you know what? I'm just going to go with it. However, until the next one, I hope the day treats you well and I really appreciate you watching my videos. Bye!